3, 2, 1.
So name the most interesting things you can. That's sustainable energy, space travel, social media, and artificial intelligence. I think he's the most consequential figure of our time. He's had the most impact on our lives of any person in the private sector, of anybody who's not in government. He has a hardcore intensity and focus. And so he would focus on how to make the rocket engine. And then when that got to be successful, he was focusing on Tesla. And he's able to take risks. The first 3 rockets he sent up all exploded before they got into orbit. And in some ways, he was gleeful at times, because he said, you got to blow things up in order to learn how to do it. Nowadays at NASA or at big contractors like Boeing, they try to make sure nothing ever blows up, but they haven't been able to get astronauts or satellites into orbit for a long time. When he started putting together the pieces that are now Tesla, all other auto companies were getting out of the electric vehicle business. But he survived bankruptcy. It wasn't an easy task. And he is now Tesla is now more valuable. So I think he knows how to fail and knows how to learn from failure. And one reason for Elon Musk's success is he questions every rule. He questions every regulation. And I'm not saying you should be a rule breaker all the time, but I'm saying you should take some risks and question all requirements and try to think different, as Steve Jobs would say. It's most true of Elon Musk, who had a very hard and tortured childhood in South Africa, and even was psychologically tormented by his father. Even when Elon was a child, suddenly his father would get dark and angry, and Elon would have to stand in front of him for an hour, for 2 hours, while his father told him how useless and what an idiot he was. And as Elon Musk's mother said to me, May Musk said to me, the big danger for Elon is that he becomes his father. But when he came out of college, he was worried about 3 major things: human consciousness surviving, and he felt for that to happen, we had to go to different planets in case something happens to this planet. He cared about sustainable energy, and that's why he wanted to try electric cars when everybody else was giving up on it. And he worried that artificial intelligence could be harmful to humanity, as opposed to being good for humanity. So those are his 3 missions. As I said, the mission-driven, epic hero, Elon Musk. And he said, I think we should all try to do what we can for humanity, to keep humanity, human consciousness alive. If things are going too smoothly, he wants to shake it up and surge a lot of things. Mm-hmm. And he did that at Twitter. It's like, I'm going to cut out these servers. I'm going to fire these engineers. And people say that's dangerous, that's risky. But he didn't have any fear of that. Thiel, who was one of the founders of the company that eventually became PayPal, says Elon doesn't just tolerate risk, he seeks it out. And when things are calm, when things are going well, he's not comfortable. He likes having drama in his life. For 10 years, he'll go on Twitter late at night and sometimes say really ridiculous things, but he loves that back and forth. If you want to know psychologically why, maybe it's because as a kid, he was beaten up on the playground all the time. And now Twitter is the world's ultimate playground, and he gets to own it. Mm-hmm. And clever people like him get followers as opposed to getting beaten up. Mm-hmm. And so maybe it's the playground he never had. He has, of course, a huge factory in Shanghai and sells many cars in China. I think that probably influences him because he doesn't want to provoke China. It would be a problem for his business. But I also think that he's not totally driven just by what's in his business interest. In fact, a lot of times he does things that are not in his business interest, including saying silly things on Twitter or buying Twitter for that matter. The US policy on China is a very nuanced, careful policy about people on both sides of the straits believing in one China, and that is not an issue that should be resolved by force. I think Elon Musk accepts that, but he is also worried that the US is becoming too confrontational with China, and it could provoke things, and this would be bad for the world economy and bad for everybody. And I kind of agree with that. I tend to believe that we can find ways to all compete when we have to, deter unnecessary force being used, and also not provoke or cause a confrontation. One of them was to start an artificial intelligence company, XAI, everything's named X. And it was going to compete with chatbots, but it was also going to do real world artificial intelligence. Another thing that's important is he decided that self-driving, they're going to change the way they do it at Tesla, to watch billions of frames of video on how good humans drove. It will learn how to drive just by imitating humans. So that's what he has in store for the future. It was a wild ride being with him all this time. But as Steve Jobs once said, the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.